and then you have to refile. Now, that's happened to me a number of times.
I think I read in the New York Times last week that the record was 40 years.
Well, that's not true. Let me just tell you what went on there. I have a series of patents. There are about 18 patents right now in the field of machine vision. And I started thinking about this area of invention, way back in the early 1950s. I started out with some very crude robotic arms that contained photoelectric detectors and light sources, beam lights. This is before the laser was invented, by the way, 5 or 6, 7 years before the laser was invented. And this was part of a larger application of mine that was filed on industrial robots. I got some of the first patents in the field. And that particular initial patent application, which was filed in 1954, issued as a series of patents on industrial robots. Several were in the area of what is known as computer control coordinate measuring machines, CCCMM. And this is a machine that was developed after I submitted my initial patents to 2 companies. I don't mind mentioning who they are, Brown and Sharp and Bendix Corporation, in the 1960s. By 1975, both of them had it on the market, and they hadn't even asked me for a license. They didn't even recognize the fact that I had sent it to them. So years went by. It was used in measuring the tiles on the space shuttle. Without the computer control measuring machine, I doubt if we would have been able to manually set the tiles. It was a very important factor in permitting the space shuttle to re-enter the atmosphere without burning up its nose cone. I sued Bendix and Brown and Sharp through a government action, and I got a partial victory out of it. But to get back to the machine vision thing, what happened in that situation, I got my first patent in 1963. And it wasn't a good patent. The claims had to do with modified forms of it that really weren't that useful. Within a few years after that, a company in England, Cambridge Instruments, came out with this system. And from reading their patents, I came to the conclusion that they had my patent before them when they filed their own patents. They then sold almost 1,000 of these systems, the first ones to hit the market in this country in the United States. It was called the Quantimet, and it was used in medical scanning tissue and scanning blood samples and things of that sort to permit the technician in the lab to get this information automatically and more accurately than by doing it by eye through a microscope. Attempted to get my second patent. What it was that I had a whole series of inventions in one application, and it would certainly be nice to be able to claim them all and get one patent out of it and get out of the patent office with it. But the patent office doesn't operate that way. The rules are that if you have more than one invention, you have to choose one of whatever they claim to be the different inventions. And I had 7 or 8 in there. They said, pick one of them and prosecute it now. Now, I couldn't afford at that time to prosecute 7 or 8 at one time. It's always good to get one out of the way and then you go on to the second one. Well, what happened was that from 1963 until 1978, I went through a whole series of procedures in the patent office, like interferences and appeals. And in one case, my attorney made a mistake, and the Board of Appeals picked it up, and they agreed with him. And when I pointed out to him that he made a mistake, we lost the appeal, but we refiled the case and argued it over again the second time. Second time, he knew what to put in the arguments, and we succeeded the second time. But by the time all these procedures had gone by, the appeals, the interferences, all these things, it took 15 years to get the second patent. It was something that I had no control over. The patent office takes years to rule on things. So the second patent came out in '78, the third one in '79, the fourth one in '81 or '82, and since then I've got a series of another 15 patents. Well, these patents cover machine vision. Do any of you know what machine vision is here? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, most of them.
Machine vision is the use of a television camera as the eyes of a computer, basically. You look at a circuit board, and the camera generates an analog video signal. It's a full-frame signal of the circuit board. And that signal is then digitized and processed by a computer, and you can tell all sorts of things. Anything that a human being can basically tell with his own eyes, the computer can do much faster. Within a fraction of a second, a computer can tell you whether or not all the components are on the circuit board, whether the circuit board is properly constructed, whether they're properly aligned, whether they're soldered, whether there are any defects in the solder or the circuit elements. 1,001 different things that a human being might take days to find out by looking at. And this is machine vision, and it's used in all sorts of industries. I mean, General Motors has thousands of them used today, inspecting the parts that go into their cars, the tires, the gears, the radiators to see if there are any defects in the radiators, the paint job on the car, whether or not the doors are aligned properly. And the main reason is not that they save tremendous amount of labor. The main reason is quality. And the Japanese picked up machine vision ahead of America. We had it available. They used it in producing their cars. And it's a major factor why they're so advanced in their ability to turn out a quality product today. We've caught up. Our auto manufacturers are now using thousands of machine vision systems made by over 100 different companies in all phases of manufacture. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to have invented this back in the 50s and 60s and modified it in the 70s. You keep coming up with new ideas all the time, how to change and make it better. And at the moment, I have about 17 or 18 patents in that field. And these patents are now the subject of a big litigation right here in Reno against the big three, Motorola, Mitsubishi. But I've licensed them. I've got a track record of licensing almost 50 companies under these patents in the last few years. And you think that would be reason for the big boys to sit down and talk to you, but it doesn't work that way. It's a battle, and it'll probably go to trial in the end of the year or early part of next year. So much for that. Now to get on to we've got another 15 minutes before we go any further. I'd just like to tell you what a patent is all about if you don't know. I'm going to pass some of these around. I'll keep one of them to pass these around and give you an idea of just what a patent looks like. I have one here for this inspection control. This is a speech-controlled inspection, computerized inspection system. Care to pass them around? Basically, a patent consists of, you might say, an introduction page which gives the title of the patent, the number, the filing date, and the issue date of the patent. Gives the name and address of the inventor, and the application serial number. And then it gives classes of search, international class and United States class of search, field of search. Because what happens is once you make up the patent application, send it to the patent office, the first thing they do after getting the thing classified and numbered and everything is that they turn it over to an examiner who's skilled in a particular area of technology, and then he goes to his search files. It's manual right now. Within the next 5 years it'll be computerized, or part of it will be computerized. He starts searching the art to find out what people have done before the inventor, before the invention they have before them. So they have to give you the field that they searched in. And then they give you a series of patents that they found. And then they write you, and they say, well, here are patents that we think anticipate what you have. And then you have to argue with them, tell them why they don't anticipate it, why what you have, why your claims are patentable over the prior art. Usually you have to change your claim. I'll tell you what a claimant is in a little while. But we'll get to that. So here you have this first page, and on the first page is an abstract. The abstract basically tells the world what the patent is about, and it's usually kept to 150 words or less.